Hi, this is Kristen. I am going on a bariatric surgery journey, and I thought I would take this experience and document it not only for myself, but for anyone out there that has been curious about bariatric surgery, have questions, and are wondering what are the questions to ask, what questions I may have, where I'm still looking for answers. And hopefully, as I document it and find things, I can share them with you, and we can go through this journey together. So I decided a couple months ago that I did and was ready to have a consultation about bariatric surgery. I have struggled with weight the majority of my adulthood. And it first started, me always thinking I was a bit overweight when, gosh, I wish I looked like I did and had the health I had then now. But after I started having children, I slowly was having a harder time losing the weight. So I would go up and down, trying every diet under the sun. I'm sure everyone feels that way that's possibly looking at this video. And I'd lose weight, and then I'd start gaining it back, but then some. And it really started to have a real struggle for me when I had my second child in 2016. It's just my body was not reacting the way that it used to certain diets. And it was frustrating, and it was a struggle, and I'd work so hard, and I wouldn't really see much from it. I was running, I was doing a ton of exercise, and just nothing was really happening. So I kind of would try something new once a year, twice a year, depending on how long I was able to keep up with that particular diet. And then the beginning of this year, we had quite a family emergency in my house where, like many people, have experienced COVID. Unfortunately, with that, my husband had a really hard time with COVID and was hospitalized in the ICU for over a month, and outlook wasn't great. With that, I was busy working by myself, had my kids, making sure my husband was okay, stressful, visiting him in the hospital, balancing that with my children and my children's activities. And I, was eating unhealthy. And that's just a given. I was, eating on the run, a lot of fast food. I'm just trying to get something in where I could. And a lot of those choices just weren't great choices. And I know you can always choose better choices, but I did have a bit of a struggle at that point. I also had some wonderful friends and family that set up meal trains for us. And so food that we had at home was a lot of comfort food. And I'm so thankful for it. But my body did not recover well from that. On top of the stress, it was quite the struggle. So beginning of the year, we kind of got through it. Was working with my husband through the majority of the year, just getting him back to health. And now that we are in a stable place, I decided that it was time to start taking care of myself. And with that was a total change of my lifestyle, knowing that it was necessary, knowing that anything can happen any day to a loved one. And my health is needed. Health is needed for me. It's needed for me physically and mentally, but also for my children and my family. So that is kind of why I decided, it is why I decided to look into it. And so I met with Inova. I met with their bariatric surgery center and had a consult. It was an awesome experience, very kind, very compassionate, I would say, where in a lot of cases, I think everyone's very ashamed about being overweight and what doctors or medical facilities will think about you, especially being overweight. So I met with the doctor in Inova. Dr. Colbert is going to be my surgeon for this particular experience. And they walked me through the process and, kind of went through options, what my BMI was, what would be a good fit, and if I would be a good fit for the surgery. And certainly I was. My BMI is high. It does qualify me without any comorbidities, which is usually another option if you're being considered for bariatric surgery, is a higher BMI but comorbidities to get the surgery, or you have that extreme BMI and you qualify right away. And unfortunately, I qualified right away. So they did explain to me that depending on different insurance companies, different processes are involved, and the doctors require a bit of a process themselves. So at first conversation, the doctor and I discussed the option of the gastric sleeve or bypass. We thought that probably the bypass would be in the best interest for me to sustain the weight loss for the weight that I had to lose and just the lifestyle changes that I was needing to take. So my insurance does require 3 consecutive months of a multidisciplinary program. With that, it kind of totals about 12 appointments in whole. So it is quite the process. It's not something you can just go in and then schedule a surgery the next day. It is needed to go through these like multidisciplinary classes, and that involves a lot of doctor's appointments. So the good news about what COVID kind of brought to the table in the medical space, I would say, is a lot of ability to have virtual visits. I would say it's probably be a lot more difficult if I had to do the majority of these in person, just due to my job and my children and being busy, consecutively with getting this much in. But we did get this check sheet of all the things that I would need to complete. Some are requirements by insurance and some are requirements by the doctor. And I have been working through this list. So my, like I said, 3 consecutive months is necessary from my insurance, but that could also break down to 12 sessions. And so I was able to get a lot of sessions in back-to-back through November and December, which hopefully will lead me to have the ability to have surgery towards the end of January, beginning of February. So some of the things that was necessary is a nutritional evaluation, a psychological consultation, and basically that will give you clearance for the operation, and I can go more into that after. A medical consultation, clearance, so meet with your primary physician, blood work, those kind of things. A chest x-ray, abdominal ultrasound is necessary, an EKG is necessary, endoscopy, can't say that, is needed, and I actually have that scheduled in 2 weeks, which basically the surgeon likes to make sure that there's no obstructions or any issues before they do the surgery, so they kind of check the stomach for ulcers, polyps, anything like that, and make sure that everything is in sound shape, and they can get a good idea if the surgery would be okay or if there's some other pre-work that may need to be needed. And then I have to take wellness modules, which is everything from, learning how to cope with feelings without eating feelings, everything to having exercise, what to do for exercise, how to be fit, how much you should do, different exercises for you, how to prepare, and just maintain a healthy lifestyle. A lot of it is support groups, which I think is strong and really helpful in this. And so I've been taking away at this list, and it has been great. And I will have to have a 2-week pre-surgery diet, which will be essentially a liquid diet, a meal replacement plan that helps clean and cleanse your liver. A lot of people, when we're overweight, you end up having a fatty liver, and in order to operate, the stomach is underneath the liver. They have to be able to lift it up and move it and have room in your stomach to do the operation for bariatric surgery. So that 2-week diet is really to kind of help prep kind of shrink the size of that liver and prepare your body for surgery. It also, I think, gives you a head start of kind of what your future is going to be like in the initial steps for bariatric surgery. And from what I've seen and what I've been told is it is a series of getting your stomach to heal. So starting with liquid diets to purees to soft foods, and then, kind of fitting in more whole foods. So my experience so far has been positive. I've had a few conversations with a dietitian about, different servings, what to focus on for food, what kind of food really won't be in the cards for me moving forward. And I know that kind of sounds scary, but I think that is what the diet is as a whole. I've done a lot of kind of poking around on the internet and have seen that some people do still have a few bites here and there of foods that are perhaps not ideal, really not ideal for this experience. But they are able to have a few tastes, but it's that psychological being able to be aware to limit it. So, I think that part will be interesting for me. I'm not sure if 2 bites and the size of my stomach will limit it enough, or, is it best to stay completely clear? And my guess is it's always probably going to be best to stay completely clear of that. The other interesting experience I had was last week, and that was my psychological consult. I will say that one was a little weird and uncomfortable. I guess being able to admit to yourself is one thing of kind of why you eat the way that you eat, why you're the weight that you are, and how your mind kind of works with food, especially if you are an emotional eater, and kind of eat those kind of feelings. It's different to kind of confess that to yourself, but to say it to someone else and not feel crazy is a little weird. But I will say that the doctor that was behind that was absolutely wonderful. It was someone that deals with bariatric patients all the time. She's the main person for this bariatric center. And it was a positive experience. And there was no fluffing of the conversation. But, they want to make sure that you're mentally prepared for this. I think it is a tool to help. It is not a one thing done, and then you don't have a weight problem for the rest of your life. And I think that's the tough balance for a lot of people, is making sure that mentally they're prepared for it. So I will have a couple more appointments this week. One will be with the exercise team to kind of come up with a plan. Another one will be a webinar that I have to attend on eating and nutritional values, and the main focus of it actually this week will be on emotional eating and how to kind of get around that and how to make better choices and how to deal with your feelings and not attach them to food. So I will report back, hopefully, and have a new video coming later with those 2 appointments to kind of just address what I've gotten and what I've learned from it. And then we'll kind of go through how I'm feeling and some, videos that I've been watching that I feel like I'm looking for answers. And one of the main ones I think, and is the hardest, is originally discussed having bypass surgery. And going on the internet, I've seen tons of videos of people that have gotten the gastric sleeve and not the bypass. And I have this thought within my head of kind of, am I choosing the right surgery? So really trying to look at what the difference is. Is it going to make that much of a difference? Is it a better choice to go the sleeve? I don't know. So I am a little bit second guessing which surgery to do. And I guess that's part of my struggle here that I haven't seen like really a clear line of why one over the other. And maybe that's on purpose, and maybe that's just the way my mind thinks of kind of needing to validate my decision. But it does seem like, bypass is pretty intense, rewriting the intestines, and I'm kind of rethinking that part of maybe, the sleeve is the way to go. And that's something I'll have to talk to further with my doctor. But if you have any comments of you going through that struggle and kind of how you were able to come to terms and make yourself comfortable about the decision you made, please comment below. I'd be really interested to see. Very few videos actually address it. A lot of them just say, I chose sleeve because, and not necessarily why they didn't consider a bypass. Some of them didn't even consider it at all. And I guess that's what kind of leaves that open-ended question for me. So I'll be going through that a little bit more this week, and through that voyage, kind of having some conversations about it. And as I kind of chop through some things, I'll come back on and maybe make another video of where's my head considering. One thing I do know for certain is I am ready for the surgery, whichever one it may be. It's just more the decision of which operation is best for me moving forward. So I want to thank you for coming on this journey with me. This is going to be my first video ever, so bear with me with sound and video and maybe rambling. But hopefully someone finds this helpful, because I fully intend to just walk everyone through where I'm at. Probably a good thing to start to is I'm 42, I'm going to be 43 in January. 2 kids. I got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so it's going to be different. I have very active kids, one in hockey, one in all-star cheerleading. And, I think it's going to be a difficult balance too, especially with some of those cheer competitions of having food choices, bringing food. How am I going to do that? And I think that'll be good to kind of document kind of my learnings and some of my successes, maybe some of my fails of things that I find that work or don't work. So thank you so much. I'm so excited for you to kind of come along. Hopefully this is helpful. If you see any questions or anything you'd like me to address in any of these that maybe you haven't found and I can kind of document my way through it, I'm so happy to do that. I definitely want to be able to be a support. I want to find support, to be honest. And this is going to be life-changing, and I'm really excited about it. Nervous, but excited. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.